All right, everybody, welcome to today's personal development lesson. I am your host, as always, Joel Dunn. Today, we are going over something that has the ability to have a huge impact on your life and the life of the people that you lead. Because here's the thing. We all are susceptible to making excuses. Thank you, Christy, for asking for this one because this is such a great lesson and a great topic to go over because your excuses are louder than your effort. That happens all the time. And guess what? Today, we're going to flip that. We're going to make sure that our efforts overcome our excuses. So here's the thing. Every single person here today watching this has two voices in their head. One that is telling you what is possible. Please listen to that one. And then the other that's giving you reasons why it isn't. Now here's the thing. The one that's telling you what's possible is normally your subconscious mind. And it's your conscious mind is the one that constantly wants to try and talk you out of it. So let me ask you something honest. Which voice has been winning for you lately? Because here's what I've noticed about excuses. They don't sound like excuses when you're making them. They sound like reasons. They sound logical. They sound like actual truth, like I'm just busy right now. Well, my situation is different. Once things calm down, I'll get back to it. How many of you have that one? Once things calm down. Has it ever calmed down? My life has never calmed down. You just need to do it in the chaos, not the I'll get back to it part. Or I'll start when the timing is right. Or it's not the right time for me to do this right now. If any of these sound familiar, it's because we've said them all. I've said them all. And the problem isn't that you've made the excuse. The problem is when you start believing them as truth. So today we are going to break free of the excuses because the version of you that's still making excuses can never become the version of you that builds the life that you actually want. So first, excuses feel like reasons. That's a trap. Because the most dangerous excuses aren't the ones that sound completely reasonable. Here's how excuses work. They don't show up wearing a huge sign that says, I'm an excuse. They show up dressed like wisdom. Ooh, that's tough. They show up sounding like maturity. They show up sounding like a balanced perspective. You know, things like, I'm just being realistic. I'm prioritizing my mental health. I need to wait until I have more clarity. I just want to do this the right way. Those statements aren't lies, but they can absolutely be excuses depending on what you're using them for. Now, here's the test. A reason explains, an excuse protects. Again, a reason explains, an excuse protects. The reason you make a smarter plan, and it may help you, but an excuse helps you avoid the work. A reason gives you context. An excuse gives you permission to quit. A reason, it adjusts the strategy. An excuse cancels that strategy. And most people aren't honest with themselves with which one they're actually using. They dress up their avoidance as wisdom and walk around feeling justified for not moving. And that's not you. You're not most people. So call it what it is. Reasons make you better. Excuses keep you stuck. So today, listen to yourself. Catch one reason you've been telling yourself and ask yourself honestly, is this a reason or is it an excuse with good marketing? Number 2, every exercise and every exercise and every exercise and every exercise you do as an excuse is a trade. See, if you're constantly getting ready, that is an excuse you are continuing to perpetuate for yourself. When you make an excuse, you're not getting away with something, you're paying for it later. Here's what nobody tells you about excuses. Every single one of them comes with a price tag. You don't get to make excuses for free. Every time you let one slide, you're trading it for something that you want. You trade growth for comfort. You trade momentum for stagnation. You trade the future you and the future that you say you want for the present you keep tolerating. And you trade the person that you're wanting to become for the person you have been before. See, the trade feels like a small thing in the moment. You're putting it off, you're learning, you're exercising. And then it's just one day, it's just one call, it's just this one time. But here's the math. Those just one moments stack up. They compound. They actually build a life of excuses. You think you're skipping the workout. You're actually voting for your body that you don't want. You think you're skipping the call. You're actually voting for the income you keep complaining about. You think you're delaying the conversation and you're actually voting for the relationship to stay broken. See, every excuse is a vote for the life you're trying to leave behind. Because you don't get away with excuses. You pay for them. And sometimes you don't know at the moment what that price actually costs you. So pick one excuse you made this week. I know I've made 2 or 3 already. And here we are on Tuesday. We need to identify what it actually will cost, write it down, let it sting a little, because that's where the change starts. When you realize what the excuse is actually costing you, when you itemize the things that it's having you pay to have that excuse, that's when you will start to make a choice to change. Next, excuses are comfortable because we all know growth isn't. Maybe it's not comfortable for you to get up and get on these trainings. Maybe that's why you should do it. The reason excuses are so easy to make is because it protects you from discomfort. And we are hardwired to seek comfort. But discomfort is where the change lives. And here's the truth. Excuses are a defense system. They show up to protect you from the discomfort of doing the hard things, the risk of being judged, the possibility of failing, the exposure of trying and not succeeding, the pressure of becoming someone new. Now, those are all things that we as entrepreneurs, we as business owners, we as leaders should strive for. Because your brain loves excuses because they keep you safe. They keep you safe from the struggle, safe from the criticism, safe from looking foolish. But here's what your brain doesn't tell you. Safe also means living a small life. Safe also means stuck. Safe means the life that you have right now is possibly the best you'll ever know. And I don't know about you, but that scares the life into me. That scares the action into me. Because if today is the best my life will ever be, I might as well just roll over. Because there's no good days ahead. But if I go out and make the choice to do the things, I know that tomorrow can be better, which will lead to the best life I know I can lead. Because here's the thing, you don't want to stay safe. Everything that you want is on the other side of safety. But if you've ever felt that little whisper inside that says, there's more for me, then you can't afford to keep making the excuses, because every excuse is a door slamming shut on the more that you want. The people building the lives that you admire aren't smarter than you. Guys, I am not smarter than any of you. In fact, some of you are like 10x as intelligent as I am. You're not more talented. They're not more talented. They aren't more blessed. They've just stopped negotiating with themselves and they get to work on whatever it is they're trying to do. They stopped letting excuses run the meeting. They started moving even when it felt uncomfortable. They started doing the things that make feeling like they are doing and not getting results. They made it into feeling like they're doing something and they keep doing it because they know that an excuse will tell them that it feels like nothing is happening. And that's the whole game. Your excuses are going to try and tell you that the efforts that you're putting in aren't making a difference. They aren't moving the needle. When in actuality, even the smallest degree of difference could change everything on your destination. Because excuses keep you safe. They also keep you stuck. So identify the one thing that you've been avoiding because it's uncomfortable. Do it today, not tomorrow. Do one uncomfortable thing per day and watch your excuses start to melt away. Another big one is stop comparing your excuses to other people's realities. See, everybody is fighting something. Successful people just refuse to let it become their excuse. They actually turn it into their fuel. So I want to call something out today because we all do it. You look at someone who's winning and you tell yourself, well, of course they're killing it. They don't have what I have going on. They don't have my schedule. They don't have my family. They don't have my past, my finances, my circumstances. Guys, just stop. You don't know the battles that someone else is fighting behind the success that you see. Because the person you're comparing yourself to is fighting something too. You just don't know what it is. The leader who's crushing it, they have the same 24 hours as you do. The mom who's building a business, she has kids screaming and dishes piling up and laundry for days as well. The person who got in shape was tired and busy when they went into the gym. That leader making it look easy has battles you would never volunteer for or ask to have in your life. So here's what's true. Everybody has reasons to quit. Everyone has a list of legitimate excuses they could pull out. Winners just refuse to use them. They stopped comparing their excuses to other people's outcomes. They stopped using their circumstance as a permission slip, turning it in, going, oh, no, here it is. This is why I can't. They started saying, whatever they figured out, I can figure it out too. They looked at somebody that had results and found the way that they were able to do it, the way that they were overcoming, and they were able to apply it to their situation. Because you can keep listing why your situation is different, or you can decide that your situation doesn't get the final word anymore. Because everybody has excuses available. Winners just don't pick them up. So write down one excuse you've been hiding behind. And truly, that's what it is. You are hiding behind whatever it is. Then right next to it, someone else with this exact problem is still winning right now. So can I. Guys, that one's huge. That's the sticky note. Someone else with this exact problem is still winning. So can I. Finally, we will trade the excuse for the action. Excuse, fear are both overcome with action. The cure for excuses isn't motivation, it's movement. So here's how to break free from excuses. And it's way simpler than you think. You stop talking about them and you move instead. Every time you feel an excuse rising up, you've got a choice in that moment. You can justify it and stay where you are, or move anyways and start becoming someone new, the person that you desire to be. That's it. That's the whole pattern. You don't have to feel ready. You don't have to feel motivated. You don't even have to feel confident. In fact, you can do it all afraid. You just have to move before the excuse takes over. So give yourself 5 seconds. That's all you have. The window between when the excuse shows up and when it convinces you. If you move in those 5 seconds, you win. If you let it talk, it wins. Don't feel like making a call, pick up the phone before the excuse finishes its sentence. Don't feel like working out, put your shoes on and walk out the door before you can even talk yourself out of it. Don't feel like having the conversation, send the message before fear actually builds the excuse to not. See, movement is the antidote to excuses. Always has been, always will be. And it's the same for fear. Because you'll never feel your way out of an excuse. You will only move your way out. You don't argue with excuses. You outmove them. You outmaneuver them. You outaction them. So pick one thing that you've been making excuses about. In the next hour, take one action towards it. Not a plan, not a thought, just an action. Move first, feel about it later. Because the life that you want is on the other side of the excuses you keep making. Not on the other side of more time. Not on the other side of better circumstances, not on the other side of feeling ready. It's on the other side of the excuses that you tell yourself. And not only the excuses that you tell yourself, the excuses that you accept and listen to. The version of you that finally gets it, that builds it, that becomes it, that lives it, is the version that stops negotiating with yourself. The version that called the excuse what it actually is, and the version of you that moved away. That version of you is available today. So do this in the next 24 hours. Catch yourself making one excuse and refuse it. Move instead towards an action that gets you away from it. Normally, it's the opposite of whatever the excuse is. Then do it again tomorrow and the day after that. Try to make it a habit of ignoring or going around an excuse. Watch what changes when you stop letting excuses run the meeting and you start running your life. Guys, your excuses are louder than your effort right now. Flip that. Because the life that you want is waiting on the other version of you that stopped making them and finally took the steps towards action. Guys, I hope this helped. Make sure you tag somebody on your team, then create an accountability partner when it comes to checking in to see how you're doing overcoming excuses. Guys, take this, go out and do incredible things. I hope you have an amazing week, and I hope your week is as awesome as you are.